It's your fault.
Come back alive.
This video contains 2 episodes from Season 4 of the popular investigation discovery show, Disappeared. Episode 5, Missing Valentine, the Patricia Viola case, and Episode 6, The Dark Ravine, a case involving the strange disappearance of Alicia Amanda Stokes. We hope you learned something new, so get comfortable. But before that,
if you enjoy true crime stories, please subscribe below, and don't forget to click the notification bell to be alerted every time I upload a new video. Thank you. February 13th of 2001 began as a normal day for the Viola family of Bogota, New Jersey. 42-year-old matriarch Patricia Viola was volunteering a few blocks away from home at the Bixby School Library. After completing a shift of 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., Patricia got ready and left the school at approximately 12 noon, walking the short distance home. Patricia was unable to drive due to epileptic seizures, so had to trek on foot between the school and her Chestnut Avenue home. When she got back to the house, she returned a phone call to her mother, all seeming normal in their conversation according to her, and then she left home again around 1:30 p.m. Patricia Viola was never seen or heard from again. About 3 hours later, around 4:30 p.m., husband Jim Viola returned home, surprised not to find his wife there like usual. With it being the day before Valentine's Day, he had taken the day off from work and spent it shopping for Valentine's Day gifts for his beloved wife. It wasn't so much the fact that she wasn't home that was cause for concern, but that she had seemingly not taken anything with her. Her purse, money, cell phone, and keys were all still there. On top of that, she hadn't taken her epilepsy medication with her. Without it, she was greatly at risk. Finally, when she hadn't returned home by 11:30 p.m., Jim called police, made homemade flyers, and began driving around that night looking for her and posting the flyers. But he would never find her, and she would never return home. Jim and the couple's 2 children, Michael and Christine, were panicked, but Jim always held out hope that Patricia was alive and would return. By 2008, things seemed just as bleak. No sign of Patricia's whereabouts could be found. Her disappearance led to the creation of Patricia's Law, which went into effect that year. The law puts DNA profiles of missing people in a national database to be matched with unidentified corpses, hospital patients, and body parts. It also bans police from refusing to accept missing persons reports and requires them to notify a missing person's family of support services. If the person remains missing after 30 days, it requires them to attempt to get DNA samples. Patricia's disappearance received national attention, being featured on America's Most Wanted and Disappeared. In 2010, a North Carolina-based nonprofit known as the Cummings Effort Center for Missing Persons came to Bogota, New Jersey, and held a rally on the Viola's front lawn to call attention to missing persons cases. Sadly, in Patricia Viola's case, these efforts would not produce a happy ending, as the very law her disappearance helped to create would bring a final resolution to her case in 2012. Over a decade earlier, just a year after her disappearance, a beachgoer had stumbled upon unidentified human remains at Rockaway Beach in Queens, New York. When the skeletal remains of a left foot were DNA tested, they tested positive for a match to Patricia Viola. While the family received the devastating and heartbreaking news, they were already dealing with another tragedy, as Michael, now 21 years old, was in a medically induced coma battling an infection. As he healed, Jim Viola prepared to go through the trauma for a second time, having to tell his son that his mother had just been found once he awoke from the coma. Until this day, there are no suspects in the disappearance and murder of Patricia Viola.
Amanda Stokes was last seen during the late morning hours on November 25, 2007. Prior to leaving, neighbors had heard both Amanda and her brother Aaron having an argument loud enough to cause concern among them. According to Aaron, the argument entailed Amanda's wish to move back east and settle in with her mother, but Aaron felt that she would only be running away from her problems, not facing them. After Amanda left the apartment, she never returned. But before disappearing completely, she did make one call to her boyfriend in New York, which cut off abruptly either due to her losing service or the phone losing power. 2 days later, her black 2001 Honda Accord was found blocking traffic, but there was no traces of Amanda. Police would search the area and spend hours grilling her brother Aaron about their argument, as well as his whereabouts that day. Aaron maintains his innocence, and his family members also believe he played no part in her disappearance. But Aaron wasn't doing himself any favors either, because shortly after her disappearance, he used Amanda's checkbook to write several bad checks, an exercise that would send him straight to jail without passing go. A month after Amanda's disappearance, police also collected what they called potential evidence from Amanda's apartment, leading them to upgrade her disappearance to a potential homicide. One other theory is that Amanda ended it herself. Amanda suffered from depression, which seemingly began after her father's passing of a heart attack. As Amanda fell deeper into an emotional chasm of despair, she reached out and clung on to an addiction, or as her college roommate Melinda Wiggins described it, she used alcohol to deal with the pain. She was self-medicating, and she had a lot of guy friends because she needed the attention. And it was another former friend who believed a guy friend may have gotten too obsessed with Amanda. A former bar coworker claimed that as soon as Amanda was off the job and began drinking, she became a completely different person. He also claimed that she bragged about being involved with many men in the area, in addition to her boyfriend in New York. The place that she disappeared wasn't exactly known for safety either. Lake Merritt might be known by the locals as a relatively safe place during the day, but even most of them would avoid it at night. To be brief, it hasn't earned a D or worse crime score consistently over the last decade for no reason. The police did everything they could to find Amanda, including grilling her brother for 9 hours and searching the area she disappeared extensively. But at the time of their disappearance, they were already overwhelmed with over 2,000 missing cases just from 2007 alone. So did Amanda decide that her depression was too much for her? Was she abducted by a former rendezvous who decided that if he couldn't have her, no one could? Or was she the victim of a crime among the other grains of crime-infused sand in the area? We'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below.
If you've made it this far, thank you for listening, and please consider checking out some of the many other true crime videos on my channel. Please don't forget to both subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. I'm Jason Hebert, and I'll see you next time.